Hello again. I'm back with another clock, and this one was sent to me by one of my subscribers. He asked if I might be able to repair it for him. It is a Hammond Gloria clock. It's from the 1930s. He tells me that it was repaired about 20 years ago and has been working fine up until now, and when he plugs it in now it doesn't do anything. It's an alarm clock, and this style of Hammond is known as an open rotor movement, and it looks to me as if it has the original power cord, but there's a lot of fraying going on right by the plug here. So I'm a little reluctant to plug it in. I think I'm going to have to open it up and make sure that there's no damage or breaks in the wiring here. So let me get this set up on my work table, and we'll start taking it apart. There's a label on the bottom of the clock. The name of the company that did a repair on this, it's dated October of 2007. That makes it 18 years ago. The name of the company was Pastime Clocks, and there's a phone number which I tried to call, but apparently he's out of business. Anyway, what I want to do first, I want to remove the plug and check the connection of the wire, make sure that it's intact, no frays or anything of that nature. So we'll get this off first. Piece of wire here. Okay, I'm not sure what this is. Probably keeps the wire from fraying further. But I'm just going to cut it off and redo the whole connection. So give me a few minutes to strip the ends of this, reattach it to the plug, and then we'll see what happens when I plug it in. I've reattached the cord to the plug. I also used a piece of heat shrink tubing to protect the cloth covered part from fraying. This looks like an original style cloth covered power cord, but I don't think it's the first one. It's in such good condition. I think that this was placed when this was repaired back in '07. I'll know more. I might be able to tell for sure once I open it up and see how this is connected to the coil. But now that I'm confident that this is intact, let me check to see for continuity that the coil is intact. And to do that, I'll use my ohm meter. If everything is working properly, you'll see numbers flashing when I touch the leads to the plug. Okay, we're good. That means this clock should be repairable. It also means that now I can try to plug it in and see what happens. Now, keep in mind, this is not a self-starting clock, so let me give this start knob a spin. How about that? It's running. However, it's quite noisy. So I'm going to look to open it up, probably give it a good cleaning, and then we'll take it from there. You can probably hear it. Let me shut it off. And to open it up, I have 4 screws on the back here. I'll go to remove them, and then I'll continue. 3 of them are out. I'll take out the last. Okay, the glass, the frame. Wow, the way this is connected to the coil, this looks original. All right, the next step is to separate these two plates, but first I need to remove the hands. I have to take a closer look to see if this is a friction grip or if it's a threaded minute hand, or a second hand rather. So let me take a closer look and then I'll continue. Okay, it turns out that this is a threaded second hand. So to remove it, hold down the start knob so it doesn't turn, and then just unwind it. And then we have a small nut holding down the minute hand. And let's see how easy it is to remove the hour hand. Always quite tight. All right. That was not too difficult. The dial comes off easy enough. I'm just going to mark where the 12 goes. And looking more closely at the connection here, it looks like it's hot glued down to the coil. So I'm pretty sure that this is a replacement power cord, and whoever did it had an original type of power cord. I do know that the plug on the end of it is considered a reproduction, and just to keep it looking vintage. Anyway, the next step will be to undo the plates, and I'll be removing it from this side. I just have 3 screws here. I'll take a few photos of how the gears are arranged first, just so I know how everything is supposed to look. So let me do that, and then I'll undo these, and we'll start to remove the plate. One thing I want to show with these alarm clocks, and let me take this off of here. Before removing these screws, what you have to take off is the nut that's holding down the alarm dial. And a lot of these clocks have what's called a reverse thread. To remove the nut, instead of turning it to the left, you have to turn it to the right. And if you're not aware of that, you can literally break it off by turning it too hard the wrong way. However, I'm never quite certain which clocks have the reverse thread. And what I ended up doing for this one, it was so tight that I put some WD-40 around here, and what let me remove it, and I'll show you how I did it. The stem in here I grabbed with a vice grip, and once I held that down, I was able to turn this the right way. It turns out this unwinds to the left, and off comes the nut. And that. Now let me take a closer look at this to see how I get the whole disc off, because this is connected to the back of the plate, and that does not come out. And until I remove this dial, I'm not going to be able to separate these plates. So let me take a closer look at that. Okay, it took a while for me to figure this out. I've been moving around so much, I put a piece of tape to hold the wire in place so I don't pull this out of the coil. Anyway, what happens is there's a spring in here, and you can press down on the dial, and that gives me enough space to grab this little disc with a vice grip again. And then I just started turning it to unscrew it. And I think I have it loose enough I can get it by hand. No, it's still pretty tight. I don't ever recall seeing a setup just quite like this. Now I can remove the screws and get the plate off. Let me work on that. But before I do that, I have to remove the set knob and the start knob. This is a little more difficult because it has this little housing covering the end of it. You have to pry it off a bit. Okay. Now I can remove the screws. I've removed 2 of the 3 screws and loosened the 3rd. Now to lift off the plate. Little spring fell off here. Whoop. That fits on this stem here. What I'm going to do now, take a few photos of this arrangement of gears and then kind of figure out what order they come off. So let me work on that. Now, the kind of things you really have to pay close attention to here. When I got the spring removed, I discovered that on this stem, there's actually 2 washers. And so they go in between the spring. One goes there, and the spring, and the other washer. So, definitely don't want to lose any of those. That's all that comes off of this plate. These gears are permanently attached, so I'll have to clean them just by trying to get in around them as best I can. As far as these are concerned, this comes off. These 2 are sort of sandwiched together, and this comes out of here. This one, and what I'm noticing, I'll try to show, is just the incredible amount of dirt and oil that's on these. The buildup is rather impressive. Look what's doing over here. So this definitely is a contributing factor to why the clock is not running properly, if at all. So what I'm going to do next is get all these parts into my ultrasonic, clean them up with some hot soapy water, and then I'll look to lubricate everything and reassemble. So let me get to work on all of that. All the parts have been cleaned and lubricated, and I'll show you how that's done. You want to use a synthetic clock oil, just a few drops, and then using what are called oil pins, you just dip a little bit and you're applying it into the holes in the plates, as well as to the end of the gears on the pivots. Once that's done, you can reposition everything. Let me zoom in here. First this one, and let's see. This is the sandwich gear. This goes here. Come on. And I have to put the spring with the two small washers. Back here. Then I have to position the plate back over this. And now it's a matter of just guiding all the stems of the gears into the holes in the plate and then securing it with the 3 screws. And I'll work on that and then I'll continue. I've got everything back together. Before I do anything else though, I want to make sure that it's running. So I have it plugged in. Give it a start. And it's working. So what I want to do next, let me unplug it. Going to seat the dial in the hands. This little disc fits here. This one goes here. And now I just have to reposition the hands, which I'll do on my own, save us some time. But before I put the hands on, I really should address the back of the clock. I have to reseat the set knob and the start knob. Only because you have to press down a little bit for this, and I don't want to bend the hands by putting pressure on them. There's that. Okay, now I'm going to reposition the alarm dial. And I don't know how easy this will be, or if it's going to take too much time. I'll do it on my own, but let's give it a try. Okay, it's definitely it's going to take a lot of time to screw this down, so I'll do it on my own. When I have all this back in place, I'll continue. I've got the alarm dial back in place, and now I can seat the hands. And to do that, to synchronize them, what you have to do is, the minute hand only fits one way. So you put that on first, turn it to the 12. Remove it, seat the hour hand, and then the minute hand goes back on. And now I'm going to place the little lock nut and then screw on the second hand, and I'll be ready to place this back into the frame. And I'll work on finishing the hands on my own. The hands are back on. What I have to do next is place the clock into the case. And then we'll place the glass over it. And and then the frame. Now I just have to secure it with the 4 screws in the back, and then I'll be ready to set it up on my workbench and give it a test run. So let me work on that. Okay, I have it set up and it's plugged in. Let me give the start knob a spin. And it's running. So there you have it. It's the Hammond Gloria alarm clock. I did find out that it was made in 1933, and I think it's a really good looking clock, a very timeless design, which is rather appropriate for a clock, I imagine. And another thing is that if you recall how noisy it was at the beginning, now no matter how I turn it, it's really running rather quiet. So that pretty much wraps things up. I hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions and comments are always welcome. And that's about it. Bye for now.